this afternoon as we welcome in several wonderful guests. But before we do that, I do want to announce just a couple of things. Again, our goal is $125,000. When we started this carathon on Tuesday, we started with $30,150 of matching funds. Today, we've had several individuals and organizations make donations. Just before lunch, we had Paula Shoemaker. I apologize, Paula, if I mispronounced your name, who had donated $250. And then over the lunch hour, we had St. Nicholas of Myra, Knights of Columbus, who also donated $250. So those donations double. As of right now, our weekly total that we've raised is $53,421, which is an amazing amount. And we are so grateful for all of those of you who have stepped up to the plate and volunteered to help us meet our goal to keep the radio stations on the air and allow us to evangelize and share the gospel message with people across our state. We do have matching funds left in the amount of $7,560. So if you want to take part in helping us get rid of those matching funds, using those all up, we would love to hear those phones ringing. So please give us a call at 785-621-4110. Again, the number is 785-621-4110. You can also donate online at dvmercy.com. Again, that website address is dvmercy.com. While you're at our website, you can watch the little thermometer that we've got there on the homepage as it continues to grow over the course of the next day and a half. We would love to see us meet that top goal of $125,000 or even exceed that goal. So please, if you're able to help us in some way, whether it's big or small, we would appreciate anything that you could donate to help us meet that goal and continue our mission. I do want to offer a huge thank you to Hickok's Steakhouse, who provided lunch for our volunteers and staff this afternoon. Hickok's has hand-cut steaks, salmon fillets, made from scratch soups and rolls, an extensive wine list, banquet seating for 40. They have a large menu, and they do have a very unique dining experience in store for you. Owners Greg Whitehair, Damon Hoare, and owner-manager Oscar Runyon and their staff are top-notch, and they are willing to give you just a wonderful Western dining experience. So please go out and support them. They are underwriters with us. They've provided lunch for us all week, and we could not be more grateful. So thank you to Greg, Damon, and Oscar for all of your support of Divine Mercy Radio. As we enter this afternoon portion of our Thursday of the Carathon, I do want to remind you that if you make donations of certain amounts, you will be eligible to win various prizes. And some things we'll just automatically throw in as a gift to you and as a way of saying thank you. So to all of those who donate $250 or more, you will be entered into a drawing for one of the following raffle prizes: a Bose portable smart speaker donated by Dave and Janet Schmidt, owners of Dave's Auto Repair in Hayes. They also donated 2 custom cutting boards, and these are absolutely stunning, larger than normal cutting boards. So you would be, anybody who wins those would be in for a treat. We also have a pair of ladies' yellow 14-karat stud earrings, 0.88 carat total weight, that were donated by Dustin and Lainey Rose, owners of Diamond R Jewelry in Hayes. We have a handmade ladder rosary donated by Dora Liker of Munger. We have a $150 gift certificate to Big E Meats donated by Stephen and Melissa Biggie of Hayes, and a $100 gift certificate to Hickok's Steakhouse in Hayes donated by Oscar Runyon, Greg Whitehair, and Damon Hoare, owners. All donors that make a pledge of $500 or more will receive the chance to get into the drawing for those amazing prizes. Plus, you will receive a 60-second radio spot that allows you to celebrate a loved one's birthday, an anniversary, a baptism, a wedding, graduation, or anything that you want to celebrate and recognize on the air. Anyone giving $1,000 or more will be eligible for all those prizes. You'll get the 60-second radio spot, and you will receive 2 tickets to the annual banquet, which will be held Saturday, September 12th in Hayes. This year's guest speaker will be the host of Catholic Connections, Teresa Tomeo. I also want to start out this hour by giving us if I can find my my trivia questions here. Here we go. We will start out the hour with a trivia question. So if you know the answer to this question, give us a call at 785-621-4110. So here's the trivia question. Which of these was the son of a king? A, David, B, Eli, C, Adam, or D, Jonathan? Again, which of these was the son of a king? A, David, B, Eli, C, Adam, or D, Jonathan? So if you know the answer to that trivia question, give us a call at 785-621-4110. Again, it's 785-621-4110. And now, the moment many of you have been waiting for, we jump into our first interview of the afternoon with Curtis Hammeke. And Curtis is going to be sharing with us a little bit of information about his journey in guiding Catholic education and serving students and strengthening faith. So Curtis and his wife, Annette, have been living in Hayes for 26 years. They have 3 adult children, all of whom graduated from TMP Marion. He spent his early career in collegiate athletics, moving around and finally settling in as the director of athletics at Fort Hays State University. His wife, Annette, has spent time teaching special education and serving as director of religious education. They are parishioners of Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Hayes, and they are involved in the Eucharistic Homebound ministry. Curtis recently retired from collegiate athletics and soon after assumed his current role as president of Hayes Catholic Schools. So welcome in, Curtis.
Thank you. Thank you.
So glad to have you this afternoon.
Glad to be here.
So yes, of course. So you've got, I mean, you retired from one position, immediately jumped into another, but they're not far off in terms of mission. You're celebrating excellence. You are, supporting students and their families. And so give us a little bit of an idea, coming from that university athletics background, what was that transition into Catholic school leadership like?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, of course, but the transition was a learning curve for me to be back in a high school environment or grade school environment for that matter, over both the schools. So, but I think the shining difference is just the prioritization of the faith. And I think that's something that we all have or need to strive for in our lives. And it's something that I can live more openly on a day-to-day basis, I think, in this role in collegiate athletics. That's been in me for a long time, but you're not able to wear it out as much on a day-to-day basis. So this has been refreshing to be able to speak openly about our faith without infringing on other people's concerns or whatever, I guess. So that's something that's been a transition, I think, moving from there to here. But I think as through the later years of my career, just realizing more and more what's truly important in all of our lives. We put a lot of emphasis on athletics, and athletics is just one example of many things that we put out in front of our faith. Okay, so that's just one example. For some, it's money. For others, it's power or fame or acknowledgement, whatever that may be. Just the challenges that come with the secular world that we're all involved in. And that just became increasingly more important to me to make sure that I'm spending more of my time on what's truly the most important.
Yeah. And you get to work, much as you did at Fort Hays, with a variety of age ranges, a variety of donors and people of that nature. But even now you get to work with the much younger generation, with those elementary school students a little bit and oversee what's going on there. A little departure from maybe what we had planned to talk about, but can you give our listeners an understanding of, there's a subtle difference between Holy Family Elementary and TMP Marion in terms of one is governed by parish, essentially, and the other is governed by the diocese. Can you give our listeners an understanding of that?
Holy Family is governed by Immaculate Heart of Mary, and then TMP is governed by the Diocese of Salina. So there is those two oversight capacities there, and that's something I'm really still trying to get my arms around myself, because we're calling ourselves Hayes Catholic Schools. And so there's opportunities to integrate each other together more and more. It is all seamless at this point in time, coming out of Holy Family straight into the junior high system at TMP, Marion, and the high school continues from there. So it's all one unit, so to speak, but they are governed separately. But so it creates some interesting opportunities for us moving forward as where we can integrate each other together more seamlessly than we currently are. But we visualize ourselves as all together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, how did your role in collegiate athletics, how did that prepare you for this role leading our Hayes Catholic schools?
Well, I think the main thing is probably just relationships. We're in a people business, and in athletics, and you're dealing with a lot of people. You're running a lot of projects. So something that's really important in that is a work ethic, and then the ability to get along with people and relationship building. So I think some of those apply certainly in this position. But I don't like to look at this as a business. I really don't view it that way. We'll talk about enrollment a little bit later and stuff like that. But my mindset on that really, truly is we're not trying to convince people to come to Catholic schools for our benefit. We want them to come to Catholic schools for their benefit.
Yeah.
And I think that's a difference in mentality. Okay, that's a stray from a business approach where, okay, we need more enrollment so we can help make things work financially. I don't think that's truly our mission, or truly is to get as many people this educational opportunity to have the true gift that this is. Catholic education is a tremendous gift that a lot of communities don't have. And we want as many Catholics or non-Catholics to have the opportunity to experience that education. That's what our goal is.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about finances, we want to try to make that as affordable as possible for people to be able to do it with scholarships or whatever it may be, because the end goal is to expose as many people to this environment as we can. It's phenomenal. And today more than ever, I think it's really, really important. So to take advantage of this tremendous gift that we have in town, again, whether it's fundraising or it's working on projects that are similar things that I did do at Fort Hays, it's ultimately about dealing with people.
Yeah.
And hopefully showing that we have something very special to give.
And you really come at this from a couple of different standpoints, both as an administrator, having that background, but also as a dad.
Yeah.
You had all three of your kids come through the
Yeah.
Hayes Catholic schools, and two of the three, I don't know about your third, two of the three are still involved in Hayes Catholic schools in a big way.
Yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar with Curtis, his son, Father Andy Hammeke, is the chaplain at the Como Catholic Campus Center down at Fort Hays State, but also does a lot of work with TMP Marion.
Right.
And then your daughter, Alicia, is the assistant principal at Holy Family Elementary.
Right. And our youngest son, Nick, is in Kansas City. He's in actually Raymore, Missouri. But they've all three been inspiring to me in my faith life, and in their different ways. Just the strength of their faith is, we all inspire each other, right?
Sure.
And I think they've been very inspirational to me, and seeing them grow the way they have in their faith. Father Andy, by the way, really attributes a lot to Divine Mercy Radio.
Yeah.
He talks about, as you've heard him say before, just in his years at Fort Hays, working in the grounds department with a headset on and listening to Divine Mercy, and he really enjoyed that. And I think that it's a good plug for this station, and the impact that it's made on a lot of people.
Yeah, we'll definitely take him as a spokesperson anytime.
He's a good
He is.
He believes in it.
And not only that, but you've got, your grandchildren now too are also part of the Hayes Catholic schools. So your legacy, I mean, you're passing this on, your living example of what that means to pass that desire for the kids to receive that solid Catholic education.
Oh, no question about it. It's a great, like I said, a great gift for our community, and to see them in the Catholic grade school right now is, going over to a Tuesday or a Thursday morning 8:00 mass is something I would highly recommend for anybody that has an opportunity to do it, because if that doesn't bring a smile to your face, then I don't know what would. But watching the kids celebrate Mass over there, and then it's special in a different way up at TMP. You know, they're a little older, but all facets of having Mass in school. As you and I both know, I mean, there's nothing more important than they're going to do in a day than go to Mass. And so having that opportunity in their lives is really special. But it sure is fun to go over to a grade school Mass. I really enjoy that.
And they do such a good job.
They do a great job.
Yeah.
And there's the responses and the energy. And, you know, once in a while, Father during a homily will come out and ask a question. And boy, every hand in the room goes up, and whether they know the answer or not,
they give it a good try.
But it's fun to watch it. Yeah, it's a great experience.
And they're involved from, you know, readers, or they read the petitions, or they read the responsorial psalm.
Yeah.
They're involved as musicians. They bring up the gifts. They serve.
Yeah, they're totally engaged, and it's very special. I can think back, you know, when I was a child, going to St. Rose Catholic School in Great Bend, and you know, I was thinking about that even this morning. You know, when you're there as an adult watching a grade school Mass, or a high school Mass for that matter, you somehow flash back to that experience that you had when you were in that situation. Mm-hmm. And so I catch myself watching these young servers or whatever, and, you know, looking up so faithfully at Father, like, whatever you need me to do. You know?
They're ready for it.
They're ready, yeah. You know, and I just think back to those days, and you remember the words that the priest would say under his breath that the rest of the congregation doesn't get to hear. You know, just little pieces of the Mass like that you get exposed to being up there right next to him, and it's pretty special. But I have flashbacks of that now, just watching the grandkids up there serving or whatever they're doing. It's just neat to bring that back into your mind.
Yeah.
From your childhood.
So, you know, thinking back a little ways, not terribly far, but, you know, your experience in this collegiate athletic field where you're working on teamwork, discipline, resilience, all of those aspects of, you know, working together in this people business. Really, that's what it is. But what are those elements that you brought into your role here with the Catholic schools?
Well, all of those are here, you know, I mean, but faith is here, but resilience is important. Toughness is important, you know. We have to build up a thick skin and a toughness in this world. And I think the resilience that's involved in athletics, the teamwork, the getting along with everybody, that's going to happen in all walks of life for them. All those are big factors that athletics helps create and build on. But I don't think there's any of those character traits that aren't evident in our Catholic schools.
Yeah. Well, before we move on with the rest of our interview, I do want to read again our trivia question for the 12 o'clock hour. Which of these was the son of a king? Was it A, David, B, Eli, C, Adam, or D, Jonathan? Give us a call at 621-4110 if you know the answer to that trivia question, or even just want to take an educated guess. Again, which of these was the son of a king? Was it A, David, B, Eli, C, Adam, or D, Jonathan? Our number here at the station is 785-621-4110. If you want to ask our guests a question at any point during today, you can also text us at 785-621-4110, and we will have our volunteers get us those texts, those questions that you have for us and our guests, and we will make sure to read those on the air. I also want to recognize the anonymous donor who just called in with a $1,000 donation. So I'm not sure who you are, but God bless you for your generosity. Again, that was an anonymous donor with a $1,000 donation to help us further our mission here at Divine Mercy Radio and help us, excuse me, get a little bit closer to that $125,000 goal. Apologies. Okay, so let's move back into our interview with Curtis Hammeke. And Curtis, what sets Catholic education apart from other education models?
Okay, before I jump into answering another question, if I could take just a second, I'd like to offer my thank you to all those donating to the station. The anonymous donor just now, but for everyone who's contributing to the well-being of this Divine Mercy Radio. I just want to say thanks, echo your thoughts, and say thank you. To the question of what sets it apart, what sets Catholic education apart from other education. Last May, I'll tell a quick story.
Sure, go ahead.
Last May, I was down in Tulsa, Oklahoma with Fort Hayes' baseball team, actually. And it was a Saturday morning, and I ran over to Mass at the cathedral. And I ran into this strange set of circumstances, but I ran into a priest that I knew that had been at Stillwater when Nick our younger son, was working in Stillwater for several years. There was a priest there that we got to know, and lo and behold, now he was in Tulsa. So I ran into him at Mass, and I got to talk to him afterwards a little bit. I knew I was going to do this. I'd already spoke with the bishop about moving into this role later on. I was still at Fort Hayes at the time. But I talked to this priest, and I told him what I was going to be doing. And because I'm nervous about it, I'm like, gosh, I don't really know what I'm going into here. I asked him about it, and he said, actually, I used to be a high school, a president of Catholic school as a priest, but I was the president. And I said, that's interesting. I said, well, just curious, I asked him the question you just asked me. What's the difference? I know I have my own thoughts, but what, in your opinion, is the major difference between Catholic school and other educational systems? And he goes, well, I'll tell you this. He didn't skip a beat. He said, everybody says they want a well-rounded education, right? I said, yeah. And then he looked at me and said, and you're going to leave out the soul? Yeah. He said, come on. And I'm like, golly, okay. I felt bad I asked the question. He said, you're going to leave out the soul. But then he kind of sternly looked at me and said, come on. I said, okay. That was what he said was the major difference. And so we're educating the soul. That's what's different. That's the major difference. And so I would answer that question with his answer, because I wrote that down. I got in my car before I left, and I wrote down his answer. I thought, wow, that was pretty well said.
Yeah.
So.
And it's beautiful because we've got within our Hayes Catholic school system, you've got the academics, the English and the math and the science and all of those various aspects. And you've got the creativity with the arts. We've got amazing arts programs with this stream at the elementary level all the way up through, our theater and our music and all the things, art at TMP Marian High School, junior, senior high school. And then we've got the athletics, with our PE programs and, going on to, competitive sports, but that piece of the soul is so important, so vital.
Yeah. Someone asked me one time, I can't remember where it was, but just about how authentic are our Catholic schools in Hayes. And so that was before I ever got out there. Mm-hmm. So it kind of planted a seed in the back of my mind. And my office is actually at TMP, and I come over to Holy Family some and here and there. But I kind of, that made me cognizant of, I hear your question. I want to kind of see that for myself. I've been blown away by how authentic it is. And I think with the presence, first of all, our faculty is tremendous. We've got great teachers, but then you add into that our sisters and the presence of so many priests. Okay, so you're exposed to these people on a daily basis, which I can't imagine a better place that I would want my kids to grow up than in that environment. Okay, so I mean, that's, and then I see the masses, of course, which, and then, we'll have a Eucharistic devotion. We'll have adoration for all of the kids. And I remember going in there. We had an all school mass one time on a Friday, and I didn't know this was happening. I mean, I knew the all school mass was going to happen, but prior to that, there was adoration going on in our chapel the whole day. Because an all school mass, they won't all fit in the chapel, so we go to the auditorium. So I saw the Blessed Sacrament exposed in the chapel, so I stopped in. While I was in there, there was like one class in there and one of the sisters was in there, and I was back by a sister, and I was kneeling down in there for a minute, and I thought this was really cool. There's probably 30 or 40 kids in there having adoration before we went to mass. How cool is that? Then I saw one of the confessional doors open. I said, "Are you kidding me?" And a kid came out of the confessional. And I sat there another minute, and the other confessional door opened. There was two priests in there having confessions. And I was blown away. I didn't know this was going on. And I leaned over to sister. I said, are all of our kids going to get exposed to this today? She said, yeah, all of them. They'll all come in at varying times during the day. That doesn't mean they all go to confession,
Right.
but they all had that opportunity, and they were all in adoration that day before this mass. And so that was one example. I mean, I watched Father Brian go from class to class with the Blessed Sacrament, blessing them, and we had that Eucharistic procession over to the grotto and then back to the field house, then praying a rosary. So I've seen some of these things that you wouldn't see if you're not there. You might hear about them, I don't know, but yeah, it's beautiful. And so you take that. So question one is, is it authentic? Yes. What's different? The soul. This is going on a daily basis, and with the presence of the sisters there and the priests there is hard to explain. It's hard to describe. It's like I told the bishop one time when Father Andy was on his road to becoming a priest, and we would go visit the seminaries. And that, I think, changed our lives. I just remember telling him there's a sacredness there. I told the bishop, I wish we could bring home for everyone to see, and you can't bring it with you. But it was really cool experience to be there for a couple of days at a time and see all these young men totally committed to this. My wife would sometimes be the only woman in the chat, but it was very powerful. So then you see glimpses of that now in these Catholic schools because of the presence of the priests and the sisters. And I don't want to downplay some of our religious teachers as well, our lay people who are teaching religion that are outstanding. But then beyond the faith aspect of it, and obviously TMP's been well known for a long time about their academic prowess. I worked at Fort Hays a long time, and people go on and on about how well prepared they are for school. So that kind of almost goes without saying anymore to me. We all understand that. And then certainly from an activity standpoint in athletics, it's exceptional. So it's just a well-rounded education. And to Father's point down in Tulsa, including the soul.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to congratulate Nancy Niermeyer, who knew the correct answer to our top of the hour trivia question, which was, which one of these was a son of a king? Was it David, Eli, Adam, or Jonathan? And she knew the answer was Jonathan. So congratulations, Nancy. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening. And we will get your name in the drawing for the gift certificate to Messenger at the end of the day. So thank you so much for listening. If any of you want to be like Nancy and listen up and hear our bottom of the hour question, I'll announce that here in just one second. Excuse me. But I do want to remind everyone that you are listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Carathon. Our spring theme this year is Behold, I Make All Things New. And our goal is $125,000. We still have just a little bit over $7,000 left in our matching funds. So if you are of means that you can help us wipe out those matching funds and get those matched dollar for dollar, we would love to hear from you. If you can maybe think of donating $5 or $10, any amount would help us continue our mission to spread the gospel message over these airwaves. So give us a call if you want to make a donation at 785-621-4110, or you can donate online at dvmercy.com. Since we are right at the bottom of the hour, I'll go ahead and give our second trivia question for this 12 o'clock hour. Which of these people led the people into the promised land? Was it A, Samuel, B, Moses, C, Elijah, or D, Joshua? Which of these people led the people into the promised land? Was it A, Samuel, B, Moses, C, Elijah, or D, Joshua? If you know the answer to that question, give us a call here at 785-621-4110. Curtis, our theme is Behold, I Make All Things New. We are talking about your new role. I mean, as of what, you're going on 8 months?
Yeah, I started in August.
Yeah, okay. And so what do you hope, as you look at our K through, well, really it's preschool at this point, preschool through 12th grade Catholic education. What is your hope? What qualities do you hope that the kids coming out of our Catholic schools, what do you hope they develop?
Well, kind of back to the last question, we want a completely well-rounded education, of course, and morally, ethically, discipline, but then all of the education as it relates to school, of course, we want them to be well-rounded there. But the final piece that I think is kind of probably the most important, definitely the most important, is their faith aspect as they come through. And the schools are working with the parents. Okay, this is a partnership.
Yeah.
And so along with the support that they're receiving from their parents towards their faith, and that's why we like to talk to, the parents are critical. They're their first educators. Their mentality toward the faith is going to go a long, long ways towards what these kids are going to take on moving forward.
Yeah.
But someone asked me one time, you've probably been asked this question too. So are you a cradle Catholic or a convert? And I remember thinking about that a second, knowing that I was a cradle Catholic. But the thought occurred to me once, I think we're all converts.
Yeah.
And because at some point in time, it has to become yours.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though we're cradle, yes, I'm a cradle Catholic, but at some point in time in my life, I began taking my faith more seriously, not because my mom and dad were making me go to church, but because I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And so when is that going to happen? That happens at different stages for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's kids. Sometimes it's not till they're adults. Sometimes it's when you start having your own kids. When life comes at you in different ways. And so sometimes you go all the way through Catholic school, develop this foundational faith, and maybe you will stray from it a little bit. I mean, I hear stories of it all the time. But then I also pretty frequently hear that until they had kids.
Amazing what happens.
Okay. And then they come back. So this foundation is there for life. And we like to think that no one's ever going to leave it, but they might, and we don't know when they come back. But when they do come back is when they make it their own. Mm-hmm. And some, that's a seamless movement all the way through and never left. And I pray that for all of us. And that's why, we really want to emphasize I watched a movie here a while back it was titled Pray, but it was on EWTN Plus. And it was the Patrick Peyton story, Father Patrick Peyton. Have you seen that? I
haven't seen it, but I have his rosary devotion book, and he was dedicated to the rosary, and he was utilized modern media at his point, in life to spread the devotion to the rosary and to Mary.
Yes. and he had a rosary crusade and was speaking in front of crowds, live crowds of 500,000 plus people.
And getting celebrities involved, Catholic celebrities.
Thank
and
you. Yes.
Yeah.
If anyone out there listening can look this up, I watched it on EWTN Plus, but you can search it. It's called Pray, the Patrick Peyton story. And he's a priest from Ireland. This was in the 40s probably. Mm-hmm. And then he started that slogan. I believe he started it. The family that prays together stays together.
Yeah.
And so you can see this fade off, Allison, probably about the 70s. Okay. It kind of ran its course, and it leads you to believe we need another shot in the arm like that. And we're seeing it.
Yes.
We're seeing it in college now, in our young adults. And it's so exciting to see what's on the horizon for Catholic schools. Yes. I mean, we live in an era right now where I think we all see, all of us included, a certain degree of indifference about this, right? And that's a challenge to make this a priority. And again, just trying to keep it at the forefront is a big challenge, it being our faith. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a very powerful movie. So I just want to put a plug in for anybody to see it if they can. It's entertaining. It's modern Mike Sweeney, who played for the Royals, he's on there. So it's not just all about Bing Crosby and going way back to stars from way back when, but it's showing the power of. And this day and age, when we see so many challenges for our kids, so many, and all of us see a lot of grief, and there's a lot of people to pray for. And I just want to emphasize that to our families, because it's a great slogan. We go back to that rosary, and we can, there's hope for us to handle everything thrown our way if we're established in our prayer life.
Yeah. And you do see that, I see it, you'll just through various things at Fort Hays. So I'm an instructor there. And, occasionally things of faith will come to the forefront with some of the students as they answer questions or, whatever the case might be. It's not something obviously that we can ask or push or, do anything like that. But just you get kind of an idea of where they stand. But I see it there at the campus center. I see we've got a solid crop of students that are graduating here from TMP in a couple of weeks, and I look at the faith that many of them have. I look at just the overwhelming numbers that Father Andy has at the campus center of kids involved in the, Catholic Tigers and, filling that chapel for daily mass and for adoration. And it is absolutely incredible what the Holy Spirit is working overtime and is doing amazing things in these students' lives.
Yeah, I've got to witness that at the campus center for quite a few years. Father Andy was even here, but just seeing the devotion of our college, and now it's grown and grown and grown. And now you're hearing it nationally. Mm-hmm. I mean, K-State had big numbers, Wichita State had big numbers, but not just in Kansas, throughout the world. We're seeing, and they're after the truth. And that's what keeps coming up. The word that keeps surfacing is they want the truth. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're seeing so much growth. You're still going to see those polls or whatever saying how many people are not in the church, but it's false because they're not getting updated. Yeah. So, I mean, they're true polls, but I mean, as those numbers get updated, we're seeing a tremendous surge right now, which I'm excited about the future for. But what I want to see for those kids when they come through, I want to see that they know they're not alone, that there's great hope despite all the challenges they face. I hate seeing, when they're kids, and they don't, and their friends are mad at them and they're sad, and all the drama that goes on throughout school that we see frequently. All of us as parents get to see this, and parents, they just love their kids, and so that's all they want. They just want everything to be right, and it's not going to be. We can't control enough of their lives to put everything into one nice little box and make it work. So we've got to have that faith to surrender that, to have help. And that's what I want them to leave school with, is knowing that they're not alone. They've got Christ with them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they for most all the challenges they're going to face.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's hard. It's going to be hard.
It is. And part of being well-rounded is being being given the opportunity to be involved in all of the great things that your school has to offer.
Yeah.
And when we look at, I mean, from Holy Family, I think there was a crochet club
Yeah.
that started there.
Yeah,
One
I
of the
mean, that's
teachers
great.
was teaching crochet.
Yeah.
You've got kids that are involved
Gardens.
in garden club.
Yeah.
A lot of Holy Family kids
Yeah.
have come up and been part of TMP theater productions.
Yes.
The junior high has garden club, and the junior high athletics and cheerleading and all of the things that they're involved in. And then the high school with Key Club, and you've got Monarch Music, and you've got I was at the ceremony this morning for the awards, and just the accolades that these kids are getting are phenomenal. So how does the extracurricular, whatever that looks like, arts, athletics, anything, how does that play a role?
It's huge. I think it's huge, not only socially, but physically, and they're able to be involved in a number of things. I mean, the size of the school allows them and facilitates these kids great amount of opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And to find themselves, to find what their interests or their strengths are. But I'm obviously a huge component of and we just have to keep things in perspective. But I just like them having all these opportunities and how good it is for them, both physically and mentally and socially. But again, learning to cooperation, that sportsmanship, that discipline that comes from being on time and trying to take care of all your time. I still got to do homework tonight. I got to do this. But okay, so it's just getting organized, and it creates all that with them, organizing their lives and putting things. But again, all the busyness, much like with us adults, that the kids are going through, to try to keep that in perspective. And that's our challenge, is to keep our faith lives at the top of that. And this will all stay in place if we keep that there. It's when we get all these things up in front of that, and faith becomes third or fourth or fifth or second, that's what creates our challenges. Now, I'm not saying that's easy. Jesus never said it was going to be easy. It's supposed to be tough. That balancing act is tough for all of us. That's why that's the very reason why it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we are talking to Curtis Hammeke, who is the president of Hayes Catholic Schools. I do want to congratulate Ann Huguenin, who knew the answer to our most recent trivia question. Which of these people led the people into the promised land? Was it Samuel, Moses, Elijah, or Joshua? And Ann knew the answer was Joshua. So congratulations, Ann. We will get your name plugged into that drawing for the end of the day when we draw for that gift certificate to Messenger. So thank you so much for listening. If you want to support Divine Mercy Radio today, we encourage you to give us a call at 785-621-4110 or donate online at dvmercy.com. We've got Curtis Hammeke with with us today. He's sitting here with me, but he's with all of us today. And so, we want to continue to have the opportunity to speak to guests like Curtis. And, as your support allows us to do that, we want to make sure that we stay on the air to continue talking about not only Catholic education, but just living out our faith in general. And so we're so excited to be able to welcome all these guests in this week. We do have a goal of $125,000 for this carathon. And so again, if you can help us in any fashion, with a $5 donation, a $10 donation, if you have $1,000, we would love to have your support and hear those phones ring. So give us a call at 785-621-4110. You can also donate online at dvmercy.com. And if you have questions for Curtis or any of our on-air guests today, please text us at 785-621-4110. Just text your question to that number, and our volunteers will get that plugged into the studio, and we will ask that on the air for you. So as we continue our conversation, Curtis, what do you think, in your estimation, are the biggest challenges that are facing Catholic education right now?
I think I said the word earlier, but I think it's indifference. Yeah. That's probably the biggest challenge that it appears to me is just, again, not making it a priority, because that leads into enrollment, that leads into finances. All these things are a byproduct of that. Okay, but starts there. I mean, because well, I'll just say it. If you're prioritizing your faith at the very top, then Catholic schools is pretty dang important to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think it's as much of a school decision as it is maybe a faith decision. Okay, but I don't know that everybody has a different scenario. Everybody's cases are different. Everybody's situations vary significantly. But I would like that to be something that's an easier choice to make. I applaud our parents that we have. Like I said earlier, for the sacrifices they make.
Yeah.
Okay, but for them, for their families, I'm just appreciative of, for them, not for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for them, that their kids, that they're teaming up as parents and educators in the Catholic school system to work together for their kids and for the sake of their kids. That's a neat thing. Okay, when they're willing to overcome maybe some peer pressure, maybe overcome some finances, whatever that challenge may be that makes it more difficult for them to go to Catholic schools. But they've got the courage to do that. And I'm saying this because not to criticize, but to emphasize the importance of it. Again, I'm back to trying to get our faith to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're facing is, an indifference towards how important that is. And what's it going to take to make it that important?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, everybody's on different pages. The future, I think, is headed this direction because there's less of that. Maybe there's a rallying towards that, but we're still in a mode right now where there's that degree of indifference, and that everyone goes through.
Sure.
Probably at some point in time. It's just, when are you going to come back around?
Yeah.
And how important is it for you to have your kids in that environment? Because there isn't anything more important that you could probably do for your kids.
Yeah. And, speaking of trying to overcome that indifference and just make this more accessible to people, Hayes Catholic schools are funded in a much different way than a lot of other Catholic schools are, even in our own diocese.
Yeah. Because the second answer to that question was finances.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about enrollment. You're talking about finances. Enrollment's changed a lot over the years with the lack of a border program to begin with.
Sure.
Another thing that happens is just our demographic in Hayes. How many people are staying in Hayes? It's hard. It's very hard. So they're going to Denver, they're going to Kansas City, they're going to Wichita, wherever they may be, but the opportunities are different. So that's part of our challenge as well, is just less people, less
Right.
numbers,
Smaller pool.
Yeah. Smaller pool. But I do think the finances are, you're right, that we get tremendous help from our parishes in the Hayes area. Okay. In terms of from tithing and the like, and we get a percentage of that, which helps with our operations. We still use a thing called St. Thomas More Society, which is an annual gift. So we're targeting monthly gifts for that. That's for operations. That's probably our most important fund. But so finances and enrollment are two things that are going to come up every time.
Yeah.
I can't wave a magic wand because I've been asked that several times. Curtis, what are you going to do about enrollment? What are you doing about it?
Right.
That's my thought is, well, I don't know yet. I mean, is there actually a strategy towards that? Or is it really as simple as we're all ambassadors for that, including our parents, okay, including our alumni and, our staff. But all of us get asked that question. But even if it's not specifically, what are you doing about enrollment? Hey, do you like it out there at TMP? Your kids like it over here? You may get that answer.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that's your opportunity. Okay, so it's with our friends, our neighbors, all of us are ambassadors for this. That might be the key to growing enrollment.
Mm.
That growth in enrollment, yes, that'll address the finances to a degree. But like I said earlier, I don't want that to be the reason. Okay, that's this. I don't want to run that as a business model.
Right.
Okay, the reason we want more people going to school there is so more people have a chance to learn more about Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, and be exposed to the environment that we have. So I don't want to get those two mixed up. I think it's important that the benefactor in this deal is not the school, it's the family.
Mhm.
And that's where the end result needs to be. But those are the biggest concerns probably. We need to do these fundraisers, but we have a unique opportunity in that we have an alumni base that's interested in this school. So we can hopefully branch out further and take pressure off everybody locally.
Yeah.
That's my hope, is that our model, we have a good support base and it's very generous, unbelievable support base. But we need to maybe expand that out to some of our alums that are living not here,
Mhm.
somewhere else. And if we can get not necessarily the same group given more money, but more people, just like Father Mitch says on EWTN, keep us between your gas and electric bill. If we can get a larger number of people given smaller amounts per month, we're not looking to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Can you give $25 a month without hurting anything back to the school for operational dollars or for a facility? And you get enough people doing that, then that model might work.
Yeah.
I can't prove it yet,
Yeah.
but that's my mentality
Yeah.
towards the finances and the enrollment.
And you don't want there to be a hindrance for anybody to have that option of a Catholic education. So there are, scholarship opportunities and things of that nature. And they can just call the schools, either one of the
Yes.
schools, to get that
Yes,
information.
yeah. I don't want anybody to be scared of finances. To talk to the school, there's scholarships, there's a lot of help available, and that's part of why we fundraise more, is so that we can help lessen that blow. And I didn't get to finish saying, because I don't really think it matters to people in town, but Catholic school wise, this is probably the most reasonable, in the state. So when you compare our costs to other Catholic schools, say you get up in Kansas City area and
Yeah,
like,
sure.
it's a lot bigger challenge there than it is here. But the reason I don't know if that matters is because we're not comparing ourselves here to them. We're comparing ourselves to other options we have in town that don't cost very much. They cost less than that.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what people are looking at, and we just need to make it same approach that we take to the fundraising. Is we don't want to I don't want to take anybody's money from their grandkids.
Yeah.
I just want people to be able to find an amount that they're comfortable with, that's not going to hurt them, but they still would like to help support the school with.
Sure. Well, in our last couple of minutes, Curtis, what is your long-term vision for Hayes Catholic Schools?
Yeah. Really, a lot of what we just talked about would apply to that, and that is, we want to protect the future. Okay, we just want to protect the future. Like I said, this is a major gift, and we want to just make sure we're on solid ground with sustainable actions moving forward. That's what I wanted to try to accomplish in whatever time I have to help with this, is help do things that aren't necessarily immediate, but that are preparation for a sustainable future, because we don't ever want to have this gift go away.
Right.
And that's just something too important, um, for our souls,
Yeah.
right? Too important for our families, that we maintain that. So whether it's facilities that we're looking at projects, where it's renovations, or whether it's academics, or it's the spiritual life, um, or the finances, whatever, or enrollment, whatever those things are that we're talking about previously, we want to try to think futuristically on those, so that the things that we put in place now are something that can be sustainable for the future.
All right, leaving
Yep.
a legacy of Catholic education. Excellent. Well, Curtis, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Yeah.
We appreciate, and we will, we appreciate your time, but we'll
Yeah.
also be praying for the success of our
Thank
Hayes
you.
Catholic
Thank you
schools,
very much.
as they are so important to our communities.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thanks
We
for having me.
appreciate your time.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Curtis Hammeke, who is the president of Hayes Catholic Schools. And so he was joining us for this last hour to talk about serving students and how we strengthen the faith in those students. You are listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Spring Carathon. Behold, I make all things new. Divine Mercy Radio can be heard on 101.7 KJDM Lindsborg, Salina, 105.7 KMDG Hayes, 88.1 KRTT Great Bend, 88.1 KVDM Hayes, 89.1 KGOH Colby, and 107.3 K297 AI in Hill City. So again, you are listening to Divine Mercy Radio Spring Carathon.